Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Effective Resume Thursdays. We're very, very glad you're with us. It's January 28th. We've almost gone through 1/12 of the new year. Please note this event is currently recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career FW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your name, comment, and picture to appear. For those people on Zoom, if you're using a PC or Mac, we ask that you use the speaker view, which is in the lower left-hand corner. That way, where you see that little red arrow, you can grab that white line and drag it back and forth and change the ratio of the PowerPoint slides and the speaker, whatever is most comfortable for you to use. If you're on Zoom throughout the presentation, we will be using the Zoom box and the chat box and the participant box. So in the chat box, if you have a question, please, as you think about a question, please go ahead and just enter it in the chat box. For those people on Facebook, please just enter your question into the comment field, and I'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. We are going to review 1 or 2 resumes today live. I think we've already gotten one. Did you get the second one yet?
Yes, we've gotten 2.
Okay, so I'll keep on going. All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. I founded Career FW back in 2008 to help the unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, after being invited to go to the White House, I decided to start CareerUSA.org in 2012. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. If you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you're welcome to drive by the house. You can throw $10 out the window. And if you drive real slow, I'll throw a book back into your window. And if you want to get it on Amazon, the book's available on Amazon for $15. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. I will tell you about our upcoming program this Friday at the end of this presentation. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. At the end of this presentation, we're going to pick 2 winners. So you have an opportunity to win 1 month unlimited use of JobScan CO. JobScan is where you can enter your resume and enter a job description, and you can see how close a match you are. So after today, I'll turn the names in, and you'll have service during the month of February, and then our winners in February will have the service available for them in March. So hang out to the end of the presentation, and we'll be picking 2 winners. Well, we have 2 speakers with us today. Carol Brickel, who's with us most weeks. She's a certified professional coach, and Janice Hendricks, who just landed a job. So this will be her last Thursday being unemployed for hopefully a long, long time, are with us. So ladies, I'll let you take it away.
Great. And thank you very much, Jeff. And thank you, Janice, for joining me today. And I'll go ahead and share my slide presentation. And thank you to the 2 people who've already submitted resumes. At the end of our little slide presentation, we'll show a couple of sample resumes for people to share. And I want to welcome everyone. We've got a great group today, and we've designed this to be fun and interactive. And I told Jeff, this is the fastest hour all week. This hour goes really fast. It's action-packed, lots of information. So I recommend you put aside your phone and just really focus on what we talk about today, because if you're typing, you'll miss out on some key points. So the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it, and it'll be fun. And we've designed it to be interactive. So please go ahead and click on your participant box. And if you have access to the green check marks, give me a green yes check mark if you're in the Dallas area, red X if you're from outside of Dallas. The other option, maybe you could type in chat. If everyone could click on their chat box, and I'm doing that as well as I'm talking. Let's see, trying to get it to open up. Chat, there we go. Well, it's not opening, sorry. 1 minute, I'll get my chat box open. Hello, chat. Sometimes I have to click on annotate to get it to chat. Don't know why, but it worked. Okay, good. So if you could click on the green check mark in participant box if you're from Dallas, or type in the chat box or comments field if you're from Dallas. And if you're from outside, type in your location, because we're starting to get people to join us from all over the US. So that's great. Welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining in. And to get us warmed up using this interactivity in chat or comments, answer this question. Do you list your hobbies on your resume? It's one of the tips we'll be talking about. Do you list your hobbies on your resume? No, 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 no. Everybody's like, no, 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 no. That's interesting. No hobbies. Okay. Only if applicable to the job. Yes, that is a tip. That use hobbies or community service or community leadership to your advantage. If you have led things like, or served as like, for example, a panelist on the pit crew, that might be a relevant thing to put on your resume if it's applicable for the job. You don't want to list like 10 volunteer things, because if, as a hiring manager, I'd look at it and go, you don't have time to work for me. So do it carefully. So interesting. Good. And somebody does on LinkedIn, somebody says volunteer services. Yes. Okay. Good. And by way of background, I'm explaining my background because I'll be sharing some resume ideas, and you'll be hearing other perspectives as well. And I'll be sharing it from my experience and my perspective. And your job as an audience member is just to listen to all these ideas and then apply what's most meaningful to you. And if you give your resume to 5 different people, you'll get 5 different opinions based on people's different perspectives. And it's up to you to apply what's most meaningful. So here's my background and my perspective. I'd worked for 30 years as a hiring manager in an IT firm called EDS that was acquired by Hewlett Packard. And then I took early retirement in 2012 and gained 6 years of valuable experience as a recruiter. And I worked both in agency environments and worked as a corporate recruiter. And I placed people in a variety of different roles in accounting, finance, HR, sales, all sorts of different roles. And then also like Jeff and also like Janice, I've served as a pit crew panelist for about 2 years and coach, where we help people do mock interviews. And we'll share information about how to sign up for a mock interview here with that, with pit crew. And then also I went through a certification process, and I've been certified by the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. And now I'd like to give our guest speaker, co-presenter, Janice, a chance, if you could introduce yourself and tell us about your new job and any tips you have for how you fully land.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janice Hendricks. And as Carol and Jeff have shared, I landed at Charles Schwab. So I'll be starting in their state services area on Monday. And my tips, I've been actually in job search over 2 years, almost 3 years. It would have been 3 years in May. And over the course of my time, I've really been networking, and they say a lot, it's about the relationships, and it truly is. I got hired into a job that I never actually applied for. So it is about networking. I had a relationship that I started and found while I was job searching, and she and I just have kept in contact. And she was really an advocate for me within the company. I found out later that she emailed every hiring manager that was part of my interview panel, and both recruiters. So it definitely pays off to network and to not just network, just simply to build up your LinkedIn numbers, but to actually build those relationships. The other thing that happened for me, and I know some people say the recruiters aren't important, but recruiters are important. The recruiter is who placed me in for interviewing for the job that I got. So that's how I never actually applied. The recruiter took it upon herself that she felt it would be a good fit for me, and she put me in. So I actually got the interview. So I think those are the 2 big things that I would say is, even if the job that you initially interview for with the recruiter may not be the right one for you, still try to maintain that relationship with the recruiter, because you never know what else may be out there.
Great, great. And is there anything else you want to say about your background or?
Yeah, my background prior to my role at Charles Schwab, said I've spent 20 years in the insurance industry and hiring roles, everything from entry level to executives. And I've been volunteering for the pit crew and several other, I review resumes and assist with the Fort Worth Career Search Network. So it's definitely been a great experience for me during this time, and met some great people like Carol, Jeff, and Mark.
Great, good. Well, thanks for joining us today, and congratulations on finding that job and sharing your tips about networking, and then also the value of developing a good relationship with the recruiter, because those are the people that can advocate for you. Yes, great, good. And speaking of recruiters, as I mentioned, I had an opportunity to work in a agency environment and corporate environment. And I most recently, I retired from Next Step Recruiting, which is a Dallas agency that has mostly clients located in the Dallas area. However, during today's time, some positions can be done remotely. And every week I keep in touch with them, and every week they let me know their hot jobs. And I just got these an hour ago. And they're always looking for good HR and accounting and finance people. And these are some specific jobs. And if you meet any of these requirements, or if you're in accounting, finance, HR, project management, even marketing analysis, marketing analyst types of roles, send me your resume on LinkedIn, and I can get you connected with a great recruiter who you can develop a relationship with, and then get feedback on your resume, and they can advocate for you to their clients and hiring managers. So these are just a sampling of some of their hot jobs that are available today, right now. And if you do want to send me your resume, send it quickly, because in the world of recruiting, time kills all deals. So you do have to act quickly. Good. And regarding our agenda, we will cover the applicant tracking system. We kind of review this every week. If you could give me a green check mark if you've been to one of our presentations before, or a red X if you haven't, or in comments, if this is your first time here, type first time here. And we design these sessions for people that come back, repeat people, or for a new time, and sometimes first time. And sometimes we do review information like about applicant tracking systems. And then every week I try to share some new information based on recent articles that have been written. And then we'll review some key components of the resume. And then we'll talk about those sample resumes we've seen. And to get started, to share something funny, I saw this comic. It's a free image I could share. And it says, I want my resume to be the one you remember. And you don't have to add a lot of bells and whistles or colors or graphics or anything to your resume. In fact, applicants tracking systems don't like all that stuff. And what we'll do is give you some hints on how you can be memorable by aligning to the job description. So I thought that was a funny little article. So applicant tracking systems, type into chat or comments if you know the name of any applicant tracking systems. What are the names of some of these systems? These are the systems when you go online and are applying online for a job, and the recruiters, typically corporate recruiters or even agency recruiters, are then going through the database to look at the resumes. And somebody mentioned Taleo. Yeah, that's one of the old time big applicant tracking systems. Workday also has a component that's applicant tracking, and iCIMS, absolutely. That's kind of a new state-of-the-art standalone applicant tracking system that's quite popular. And what these systems do is they read the data in your resume, and they parse the data and plug it into their database. So your name, phone number, job titles, keywords, software, everything's in the database. And so for the resume that you're uploading into the applicant tracking system, you want it to be clean of any special characters and formatting, such as underlines or boxes, tables, those special fancy bullet points. Don't use those. You can use the default bullets. And also Some applicant tracking systems like Workday they don't read the information that might be in the header or the footer. And then you do want to use keywords to align to the job description, and we'll explain how to do that. And the tool that Jeff mentioned, where you can win a couple of free licenses. Jobscan.co is a tool you can use to compare your resume to a job description and see if you're a 25% match or a 70% match. And it'll give you an idea if you need to work on some of those keywords in your resume. And then often you have the opportunity to upload it as an attachment. In corporate environments, you could upload it as a PDF. Now, if you send your resume to a recruiter in an agency, they typically want it in a Microsoft Word format so they can put their header and footer on it. So it kind of goes back and forth depending on the audience, whether you send it as MS Word or PDF. And if you have questions about that, you're welcome to submit questions in chat. And then often you have the opportunity to submit a cover letter. As a recruiter, I'll tell you an honest confession. I never once read a cover letter. Didn't have time. We'd have 300 applicants. I might look at the top 20 or 30, and I would just have time to click on the resumes. Never had time to look at the cover letters. And I just wanted to see if the resume aligned to the job description. Didn't want
As a hiring manager, I always looked at cover letters. It was a way to separate. It was a way to separate people. So those who didn't send a cover letter, I kind of set them in the maybe pile because I was like, how bad do you want this job?
There you go. And, you know, that's interesting, Janice. And when people ask me about cover letters, when I say it does look more complete in your application in the system, if they ask for it, to go ahead and submit one. So we have a template that's real simple to fill out, and we'll share it in chat. So don't spend a lot of time on it, but it is, you can see the benefit to some, especially hiring managers. And some hiring managers, especially if it's a writing job or a job that requires writing skills, they think of the cover letter as an example of your writing skills. So if you do submit one, you do have to make sure it's error-free. And let's see, somebody submitted, okay, a message, I'll have to look at that later, a pretty long message. I'll have to look at that later. Okay, good. And regarding applicant tracking systems, you may hear conflicting information about these systems. That's because each system acts a little differently, and each company implements them differently and configures the systems differently. And so I wanted to dig into it a little bit more. And I talked to a friend of mine that works at Workday, which has an applicant tracking component, to get his perspective of specifically how does Workday work. And one thing funny, if you have like a comma PMP or MBA at the end of your name on the top of your resume, it may include that in the name field. So you may have to clean that up. And Workday does give you the opportunity when you submit your application, you can double check to see how your data appears so you can clean it up if needed. And in Workday, the header and footer won't get read or won't get parsed into the database. And any hot links will throw off the system. So if you have your LinkedIn URL, which is recommended, put it in pure text, not a hot link on your resume. And then recruiters then can sort and search through the database based on your application. And then they also may have a questionnaire or third-party assessment to further screen and rank the candidates. And he also mentioned, be sure to customize your resume to the job, because the system will be looking at it and the recruiter will be looking at it. And you want the recruiter to be able to look quickly at your resume and go, yes, that's the type of person we're looking for within a few seconds. So good. And then since each system kind of works differently, you have to kind of keep the big picture in mind. Basically, just upload a resume that's free from any special formatting, underlines, boxes, tables, icons, graphics, just free from any formatting. And then if you have the opportunity in the system to review the information that's been parsed into the database, take a quick look, then the most important thing is to reach out to a person. Because if you just apply online to the system, your chances of getting a call for an interview and those may know, what do you think is your percentage chance of getting called for an interview? Type it into chat if you know this. If you just apply online and sit back and wait. Somebody who's listened to me before, I read the statistic and I found it to be true as a recruiter, 2%. Yes, it is virtually zero. So to increase your chances dramatically, maybe upwards to 50%, if you contact a person like Janice did as she was networking, get those people inside to advocate for you. If you have any first or second level connections, have them forward your, maybe the text from your cover letter in an email and your resume to the recruiting manager. Or send, if you don't know anybody at the company, send it to the recruiter who posted the job if you can see their name. It's not often included on job postings. So if you can't find the recruiter's name, go a level up and look for a recruiting leader. Reach out to them. And I can tell you, as a recruiter or recruiting leader, if I got a phone call, and this is a true example, I posted a job in New York City for a salesperson with a track record of meeting quota and financial services. I posted the job, nobody met the requirements in the system, and I was getting frustrated. I got a phone call and somebody said, Carol, I'm Sue. I'm your gal. And I said, what? She goes, I just applied for your job and I meet all of your requirements. I'm in New York City. I've done financial services and I've met all my targets for the last 5 years. And we flew to Dallas and hired her. So the fact that she called me and said she met the requirements, that was golden to me. You're not bothering a recruiter if you reach out to them and let them know that. I recommend trying to call them and leave a message and then follow up with either a LinkedIn or an email message. And you won't be bothering them. Those are the words they're listening for. All right. And every week I try to share some new data, statistics, or articles that have been posted. And this is kind of a fun one from the Glassdoor organization with 10 tips that you may not have heard before. Maybe you have heard some of these. And Janice, feel free to jump in if there's any of these that jump out to you or if you have any additional comments. And they recommend include your location if it works in your favor. I live in Dallas. I put Dallas. Everybody recognizes that I'm looking for a job in Dallas. That works in my favor. Now, if I live in a suburb that people haven't heard of, that may not work in my favor, and I may want to list Dallas. Or if I want to get a job in Portland, Oregon, I may leave it off because Dallas doesn't really work in my favor. So include your location or major city if that works in your favor. And then be a name dropper. This is your chance to toot your horn. If you've had major client names or if you report to the CEO, drop those names and those names of companies. And one way to find good data about yourself is to maybe go back to performance reviews and look at the strengths that your leaders have said about you in the past and any accomplishments that you've documented in your performance reviews. That's good information that could go into your master resume, and we'll talk about that. So utilize your performance reviews. And then also don't go overboard with keywords that recruiters can spot keyword stuffing. Basically, if you cut and paste the job description and put that as your summary, you don't want to do that, but you want to blend in and use some of the language and keywords that are used in the job description throughout your resume. And we'll show you how to use that.
Yeah, and I've heard people, when I've coached, they use like a gray text or they'll use a really light font to try and add extra keywords so that, they think that it can't be seen. But we live in an electronic world and that sees more than we ever think. And that will pick up and the recruiters will catch that as well.
Yes, that is absolutely true. That used to be a trick that recruiters would share a couple of years ago, but now recruiters are saying, no, we're on to it, don't do that. And somebody asked a good question. If you don't include your location on your resume, wouldn't they be able to see it on LinkedIn? That is correct, they could. But at a glance, when recruiters are just kind of going through the resumes, if I'm, got a job opening in Dallas and I see somebody from New York, I'd put it aside. But if it doesn't have something there, I might give them a call and say, are you open to Dallas? And the other thing I would suggest is maybe on your LinkedIn, in your about section, maybe the top line, open to relocation, no relocation assistance needed. You could do that so that people can see that, especially if you don't need relocation assistance. Put that out there. Okay, and use common sense, or I would say professional email names. I wouldn't put Carol likes kitty cats at rocketmail.com. I have my name, which looks more like a professional email address, Brickel.Carol. I have an old Yahoo account. I should probably change it to Gmail, which is a little more current. And then when it comes to your skills, quality over quantity, and you want to align your resume to the skills required for the job. If you also did all these other projects that you're really proud about but have nothing to do with the job, you may want to delete or minimize those. And choose to share your social accounts strategically, Twitter or Facebook maybe, but also on those social accounts, if you do have Facebook, make sure your images are something you'd want a recruiter to see. And I can tell you, working in a staffing agency, when it gets towards the end of the day, that's one of the recruiter's favorite activities, is to say, I'm going to go look at this candidate up on Facebook and see what kind of things they post. Recruiters do that when they want to take a break. And then use hobbies to your advantage. That's why I asked that opening question. So if you've done great leadership, community leadership, it might be good to include one or two, especially if it relates to the job. Or if the company you're applying to supports food banks and you volunteer a local food bank, that might be good. I did that with one of my resumes, and I swear that's part of the reason I got a job at a company that did a lot of outreach. And then skip the overused generic descriptors like hardworking, self-motivated, detail-oriented, team player, words that are just overused, that everyone needs to have those skills. However, if the job description says they're looking for somebody that can be self-motivated, you might consider including that one word in your summary maybe, but don't include words like this in your areas of expertise. They're overused, and everybody should have those skills anyway. And then keep an accomplishments journal or a master resume that we'll talk about. So I thought there were some good tips here.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite tips. I think for every job, you should keep an accomplishments journal. We often think that we're just doing our job, but it's maybe above and beyond what anyone else is doing, and something you can use in your resume later.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that. And we've kind of talked about accomplishments journals and master resumes. And I kind of learned about this idea from Jeff. And Jeff, if you have a moment, would you like to share your thoughts about this?
Well, my thought about a master resume is you make it simple on yourself. So you only have to do this once. You should have a resume that has everything you've ever done all the way back to high school, all the way back since you graduated high school, and include anything in high school if it's relevant. And you put in addresses and bosses' names and all those specific dates. You put in 8 or 10 or 15 bullet points of things that you accomplished while you were there with results. And then when you see a job description, you take that 10, 15 page resume, save it as, and then you start deleting everything that's unimportant, because the whole goal here is just tell the recruiter what it is they're looking for. If they're not, I'm sure everybody here has done a lot of really great things in their career, and there may be stories that you can tell during an interview, but you're only going to get an interview if your resume matches the job description. You want to make it as simple as you can for the recruiter to look and go, yeah, this person's doing exactly what I'm looking for here, and they've got results. Let's move them along.
Great. Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, that does save you in the long run. And we had a good question from the audience. Should a resume have plain white background, black letters, and no borders? Yes, regarding the plain white background. And we've even had another career coach say, please just use black text, no borders, especially for the version they're uploading in the applicant tracking system, because the borders could be special characters that could throw off the reading of your resume. Now, some people, if you want, you could have two different versions of your resume. One that you upload, and then one with borders and boxes and tables and whatever that you upload as an attachment or that you would send to the recruiter. But that would mean you'd have to maintain two different versions for every job you apply to. I chose not to do that. I just chose to have one clean version. So it's up to you. So, but for the Applicant system, yes.
I found that people who are like in marketing or design or that they typically have two, because they will have one resume that shows that's a little bit more fancy, I guess.
Yes.
That
yes.
when they use that when they actually get in for the interview, or if they are meeting with, they'll take the one page bio and that fancier resume.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And yeah, especially design people may want to do that. And we do have a template for a one-page executive bio that's very easy to update. One of my career coaching clients had come up with this format in MS Word, and I think we can share my example in chat, and people are welcome to leverage that. And that's a one-page bio, and that's something you can use when you're networking with people. It doesn't scream, I'm looking for a job. So it's just a different type of document. And you can use something like that to showcase more of your kind of design capabilities as well. So we're sharing that one as well. And then somebody said, if you can't use the header or footer, how do you present page 2 of the resume? I say, don't worry about it. Don't worry about having that thing that says your name in page 2, because most recruiters are looking at resumes online anyway. And so having that extra header, it actually kind of breaks the flow and kind of looks confusing when you're looking at a resume online. So I say, don't worry about it. So, but that's a personal choice. If you want to have a header with your name and page 2 on it, you could. The applicant tracking system wouldn't read the data, but I don't think you need to worry about it. So now we'll quickly talk about characteristics of good resumes. You want to make it easy for the ATS systems and also the recruiters and hiring managers to see very quickly that you're a good match for the job. So you want clean formatting, lots of white space, less is more in the world of resumes. And also, we've discovered through the pit crew, less is more for interview as well. So, and then overall length, go into chat and type in how long your resume is. How many pages is it? Everybody go into chat or comments. How many pages? 2. Okay, great. And when I ask my recruiting buddies and coaches, they say 2 pages is kind of the sweet spot for somebody who has a professional experience. And there are exceptions to that for highly technical jobs or government, higher education, if you want to show more publications, certifications and such, but the sweet spot tends to be about 2 pages. And then number of years. I'll show 3 different options. And we also have a polling question for people that are in Zoom. This is a question. And I'm curious, how much experience do you show on your resume? Do you show all of your experience or show just the most recent 10 to 15 years and then chop it off? Or do you emphasize the most recent 10 to 15 years and have details about them, but then have a section called prior relevant experience? And we have a mixture here, and it is a personal choice. Believe it or not, I did option A when I was looking for a job at the age of 59, but I was networking with people, with old bosses and a vendor a recruiting agency that had been supporting me, and they knew my background. So I just put it all out there. Got it to fit on 2 pages, but I did option A. Not many people do that, because that showed experience all the way back to 1980. So the other option is B, to show only the 10 to 15 years most recent and then chop it off. I will say, as a recruiter, when I would get resumes like that and had somebody in an interview, it caused confusion. Because 9 times out of 10, I would ask a question, tell me about a time you had to manage a challenging situation with a client. And they would say, oh, when I was at IBM, something, and I'd be looking on the resume and say, I don't see that. They'd say, oh, that was so long ago, I left it off. And then I'd think, well, what else did you leave off? And so I'm not seeing the whole picture here. It would just cause confusion. And so option C, I found when I was presenting resumes to hiring managers tended to like to see option C. They like to see the more recent details, 10 to 15 years, but then they like to see that prior experience. What companies did you work for? Which industries, even which job titles? You don't have to put your dates on the resume. You would in an application or even on LinkedIn, I think you have to. But on a resume, you don't have to for that prior experience. So that seems to be a good best of all worlds. And that way hiring managers are seeing the full picture. So just wanted to share those with you. From an ATF perspective, is a PDF preferred over Word doc? I'll give you two answers to that question. Thank you for following up and asking that. When you're applying online and loading in your resume to be read by the system, native Microsoft Word is best, because like Workday can't read and parse the data in a PDF document. However, if you wish, if you're applying to a corporation, your attachment could be PDF, because then it'll freeze the formatting, the attached version that a recruiter would look at. That could be a PDF. Now, if you apply to a staffing agency, they like everything to be in Microsoft Word because they're going to have to manipulate it. So yeah, it varies based on the audience. Exactly. Okay. So hopefully that's sort of clear. And then how much weight would you have for experience more than 15 years ago? It could be very relevant. For example, I applied for a job and they asked me, tell me about a time you implemented a global leadership development program. I said, oh, I implemented a program to 50,000 people across the globe to 50 different countries. And I did this, 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 and this, and it impacted the culture in a positive way. I was able to tell a really strong star story. That was something I did 20 years ago. But boy, I could talk about that story like it was yesterday, and I could explain the details. And so if you can explain the story, or if it's something pertinent to the job, it can be important. So.
You don't
I
have
think
to
it
tell them
depends on how well.
It depends. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say it depends on how well you are experienced and knowledgeable in that area too. If you had the experience 15 years ago and it's something that you don't really remember clearly, might not be something you want to share.
Yeah, that's true. If you can't tell a passionate story with a big impact and describe the details, and yes, yeah. And if it's not relevant to the job, yeah.
And you don't have to say it was 15 or 20 years ago. Carol probably didn't say it was 20 years ago when I did this. You just told the story. And also, it's important if you mention the name of the company and people don't see the company listed on a resume. That's why you always want to list that prior work experience, just to mention the name of the company, which then allows you to talk about things you may have done previously.
Right, right. Thank you both. It's great to hear all these perspectives, and you help me remember things too as well, other perspectives. And then I get a lot of questions, especially right now, about how to fill a gap, because I coach a lot of people who worked up until 2019, maybe got laid off, and then the pandemic hit, and they've been looking for a long time, and how to fill that gap. And so I often, when I'm coaching people, I said, okay, what have you been doing in addition to your job search? What community leadership are you doing? Or what continuing education certifications are you getting that apply, that are applicable to the jobs? And if you've been doing those things, you can list that on your resume. You could either list it, as recent experience, or if you have a gap, in between jobs, this might be applicable as well. For example, if I were to fill in a gap on my resume based on recent work, I wouldn't be able to list a company name. Well, I kind of work for myself now, but if I were to list something like this, I could put community leadership and consulting instead of a company and a job title. And then I could list bullet points about what I've done. Like I've served as a panelist and a coach for the Dallas Pit Crew. And then also I've provided consulting services to a local nonprofit organization on how to prepare and conduct job interviews. And I have done consulting. It was for my church and it was pro bono, but I did provide consulting work. So if they asked me, was it pro bono? I would be honest and say yes. But
there's a question in the chat about,
yes.
From Catherine, about being out of the job market for homeschooling kids and now ready to go back to work. And I think this is one where I think, and Catherine, you could probably speak to this, as you're homeschooling your kids, think about all of those skills that you got, presentation, things that lead into learning and development. I'm not sure where you're going, trying to get back into, but then it becomes about pulling those transitional skills that you've got that you can take into the workforce of where you're trying to go to.
Yeah. I mean, you could even list your job as teacher in a maybe homeschool environment or something, and list a couple bullet points. And then also think about if you've done any community leadership. I mean, you could say community leadership and teaching, and you could list if you've done any community leadership, a couple bullet points, and then something about teaching, designing, delivering presentations. So, okay.
And John asked about how big of a gap do you recommend providing a gap fillers? I will share that on my resume, I did not have a gap. I actually just spoke to it when I interviewed, but that was why networking was so critical for me too, was getting beyond that gap and getting people to really look at the skills that I bring to the jobs that I was applying for.
Yeah, so that might be an individual situation to talk through, but I see people filling gaps of like 2 years or something like that. Yeah. Okay. And one time I looked at a resume where somebody hadn't worked in 2 years. They had taken time off to care for family. And I called the person because I liked their skills. And we ended up hiring that person, but she was so grateful that I still looked at her resume because no other recruiter would touch it because she hadn't worked in a couple of years. So,
Well, and I've seen a couple resumes that's come across that I've looked at that actually said they put down family caregiver.
yeah,
And listed some of the things they were responsible for medication, doctors, getting the doctors, taking care of all the financial things. So I think that's okay nowadays. We're all dealing with older parents, and if that's what you got to do and you have to take off some time, I think it's okay. Most people, hey, if they don't understand, you probably don't want to work there anyway.
that's right.
Yep,
That's right.
exactly.
Yeah, I saw a
with that.
resume, just the other day like that. So, okay, if you're doing community service or consulting, do you put that in the current job at the top of your professional experience? Yeah, I would put it at the top. If you're doing that community service consulting right now, yes, I'd put it right at the top. Yeah, some recruiters will look at the top of the resume to see what you're currently doing. And if you're not doing anything and haven't done anything since 2018,
Yeah.
especially agency recruiters will throw it aside. So okay, I've seen that happen, unfortunately. Okay, I'm gonna have to go through this part pretty quickly so we can get through our sample resumes. And Janice, there's a couple pages I do want you to talk about. So we'll talk about key components of a resume, the header, make it really clean with these 4 kinds of information. No physical street address, but do you have your phone number, city, if applicable, email, professional looking email, and your LinkedIn. Okay. Summary profile. You want this to be a summary statement about who you are as a professional, not an objective. I'm seeking a job in a large company, but a description of who you are. This is where you want to leverage some of the keywords in the job description, and you want to modify this every time in your areas of expertise. A need to align to the job description, especially the ones across the top and in the first column, need to absolutely match and align to that job description. And here's an optional section that's really applicable for jobs that require a lot of meeting targets, meeting quantifiable results, to have a summary at the top of the resume over your career of major accomplishments and track record of targets. That's good for like sales people. Okay. And then professional experience. Janice, would you like to share your thoughts?
Sure. So professional experience, obviously you want to make it easier on the recruiter, and you want to keep with a format that they are probably seeing other resumes in. So make sure it's in chronological order, having your most current first. Make sure that it's easy to read. In those tips earlier in the presentation, Carol talked about, white space. White space is good. Think of it as a pause in a conversation. They're nice to have every once in a while. And make sure that your verb tenses match. So if it's a past job, it should have verbs in past tense. And so just reviewing those to make sure that they work together. We want to go to the next slide.
Mhm. Oh,
So it's a recommendation to have a one-line description of the company. I will share that if the company is well known, I think you can save that real estate for adding results. So just know your audience and going through for that. Under your professional experience, again, white space is important. So you want to always put your best foot forward. So take those top, 5, 6, I know it says 5 to 8, I would say 5 or 6, really those bullets that have results that really fit with the job description for the job you're applying for. I think it's the next slide where we'll talk about the so what. So if you want to just go ahead and click through all of them, but
Great.
there's an example on the screen, but I recently worked with someone on her resume, and playing the so what game is, I think, the best thing to happen to get you to really focus in on what you've done instead of just the task. So let me get back to it. So one of the things that I recently did was she had on her resume, it said assisted with the facilitation of training sessions, as well as coaching and supporting. She was in a call center environment, agents from training to production. And I was like, oh, that's great, but why do I care?
Yeah.
So what?
So what?
And so I said, so what does that mean to the company? Because the company that you're applying for wants to know what you're going to do for them. And she said, well, we got 5% more people from the training classes out to the production. I said, well, that's important. I want to know that. So we changed the verbiage to say that she increased the number of call center agents successfully transitioning from training to production by 5% through enhancing and training and coaching. So just really, because the company wants to know what you can do for them. So it's about changing the perspective and not focusing on the task.
Right. That's a great example, Janice. Thank you for sharing that. Good. And somebody just asked the question, what if you have multiple roles at a company? That's so funny. This is my next slide. If you have multiple roles at a company, put the dates aligned to the name of the company for the whole time you're at the company. And then for each job, put the dates you're in each job, and don't justify those. Otherwise, it looks like you're a job hopper, because remember, recruiters are just scanning your resume, and this will make it in a second tell a much stronger story that you've stayed at this company, but you had a few promotions and you weren't a job hopper. And somebody asked about whether you should use metro area or actual city. I think it depends on your situation. Like me, I probably wouldn't put Dallas Fort Worth area because I don't want to drive to Fort Worth, so I just put Dallas. So it kind of depends. I have seen people put greater Atlanta area. If that works for you, that's great. And then here are a couple of options for handling companies that have changed names. For example, when I retired from Hewlett Packard in 2012, I put Hewlett Packard Enterprise Services, formerly EDS, or I could have said EDS, acquired by Hewlett Packard. So there's a couple of different options there. And then be sure to have your education and software skills, especially ones that align to what's required in the job description. And if you don't have a degree, don't say bachelor's. If you don't have a bachelor's degree, just say something like this: the school, city, state, and major, and the number of hours. Okay. I'm just going to show you this briefly, but this is so important. On the left, we have a job description. On the right is a resume. And what you want to do every time you apply, go through that job description and highlight the key words that they're looking for. And then make sure to put those, especially down here in the requirements section, where they say requirements, qualifications, or here's what you need to bring to the job. Look for what the skills are looking for. And if you've got those skills, be sure to put them on your resume. And then up above in the description, you can see other key things that are important to this job. And if you've done those, put those exact words on your resume. So that's just a very quick example of doing that. And then we shared a sample resume in chat. Okay. So now I'm going to share our first resume that was sent to us. And thank you to the audience for sending in a sample resume. Okay. I think the first one is this one. I have to click on new share and see if Zoom will let me new share. New share. Here we go. I'm going to attempt to open chat. Good. Okay. What I'm going to do is scroll down this resume. I did it again. Okay, excuse me real quick. Sometimes Zoom bumps me out. So I'm not going to click on the chat box. I'm just going to scroll down here. But if you see things you like about this resume, go ahead and type those into chat. And if you see suggestions for improvements, go ahead and type those in as well. And Jeff or Janice, if you see any good comments, feel free to read those out loud. Sometimes when I pull up and attach a document, chat, that's when it throws me out for some reason. So I'll scroll down through this resume, and thank you again for sharing this as an example. So we have an opening summary. We have core competencies and achievements, professional experience. This one almost looks familiar. Lots of experience, education, certifications, and training. Okay, yeah, this does look familiar. Okay. All right. So I'll make a couple comments, then I'll ask Janice and Jeff if you have any comments. I like the fact you have your title up front. That's good. And you'd want to pick the one that aligns to the job you're applying to. If they're just looking for a customer experience manager, just put that there. And I would keep your opening summary shorter because people won't read all this. Because again, recruiters are just scanning your resume. They may spend 7 seconds total. So they're not going to stop and read this. I would make this 3 lines. And under core competencies and achievements, those are 2 different things, sort of. I like to have core competencies or areas of expertise as just bullet points and words so that they can jump off the page. It's nice that they're bolded here, but then I don't read all these other words. Yes. Okay. And then one other comment, and I'll pause to see if Janice and Jeff. Hiring managers like to see the dates right, justified, and bold with the company name, city, date, and have the date right, justified, and bolded. And you can, to save space and make more white space on your resume, you can take off the months, and it makes it look cleaner. Any other comments about the top part?
I love the customer obsessed.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that definitely, I mean, it stood out for me, and it will stand out for a recruiter. But yeah, I agree. It's too long. It just seems like it's a lot of words.
Yes.
So just focusing in on what you want the recruiter to take away. Because again, your resume is getting you in for the interview. A lot of things you can speak to once you have the interview. But it's about getting you in the door.
Yes.
And they don't talk about those on the job description. If they're not mentioned in the job description, don't put them in your resume.
Right, right. And this says achievements, but I see serves as a liaison. What's the achievement? So I would redo this section and decide, have a section of core competencies and list those core competencies. If you want to have a section about achievements, I would pick in a separate little section 3 or 4 achievements where you achieve some sort of monetary, quantitative results. Okay, good. And I think I'm out of time. Are there any other comments?
Yeah, let's go look at this first job just to see. Let's play the so what game on his first job.
Yes.
So,
yes.
No numbers, achieve mutual revenue growth. How much revenue growth? Give us some detail. Give us some meat. This sounds like a job. It sounds like a job description, it's not your successes.
Right. And I'm not even sure what mutual growth is. Collaborated. Yeah, collaborated. So what? Monitor. monitored. So what? Yeah. Yeah. You can play the so what
Yes.
game and have fun with this one. So, but overall, it is a nice, clean format. Everything's left justified except for, oh yeah, everything should be left justified. This one is double justified. It kind of looks like, sort of, or maybe that's just coincidence. Yeah, it's a coincidence. Okay, so that's good. So overall it looks clean, but I would rework the top part of it, which is very important. And I'm sorry we didn't get to the second person. You're welcome to, I don't know if you'll be reviewing resumes next week, Jeff, or in the meantime, people could, if you have an immediate question about your resume to that second person that submitted theirs, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Yep. And the other thing on that last resume too, is they had a line. I don't know if it was an underline. I don't know if it was a border. But if that's being submitted to the ATS, some ATSs will just stop at that. Once they get something it can't read, it just stops. So again, just thinking about the bigger picture, probably something you want to take out.
Great.
Yes.
Well, Carol and Janice, thank you very much. Janice, congratulations on your new job.
Thank you.
May it be long and prosperous. May we never see you again. But please jump in anytime. Any Thursday, you're welcome to join us.
You
All
can
right.
visit the pit crew anytime.
Right. Next week, just want to let you know, we have a special guest speaker next week. Tony Bashera, who's the owner and president of Babbitt Associates, will be our special guest speaker. He sees hundreds of resumes every day in the businesses he's on. He places people all around the DFW, or around the Texas area, really. So he'll be our special guest speaker next week. We'll get tips and tricks from Tony. For those people on Facebook, if you'd like to get the sample cover letter, the resume, the bio, please send me an email to webmaster@careerdfw.org, webmaster@careerdfw.org, and let me know what you're looking for, and I'll get those out to you. Sometimes it's Saturday before I get back to looking at that account. I don't look at it every day. Other programming we have going on. I mentioned the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group tomorrow morning at 9:30. Tomorrow morning we'll be doing Be a Better Brand Part 2. Last week, our speaker did Part 1 and had only got through about half his material. So if you'd like to join us tomorrow for Part 2, you may do so. There is a handout. If you'll email me, I'll make sure you get the handout. Also, if you want to go back and watch Part 1, you can go back and watch Part 1, and that'll be going out in the email link that I'm going to send out right after this meeting. Next Tuesday, our speaker is going to be Ruth Lipsky. She's going to be talking about LinkedIn special features for job seekers. Ruth is one of 4 speakers we have for LinkedIn, for our LinkedIn Tuesdays, every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Next Wednesday, for Interviewing Wednesday, we'll be on session number 5, analyzing the job description. Then I already mentioned next Thursday, Tony Bashera from Babbitt Associates will be with us. This session has been recorded, will be recorded. It'll be on the Career DFW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel that you can go back and review as often as you'd like to. Follow us on Facebook. If you do, every time we go live, you'll get a little alert. And on the YouTube channel, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you will find out every time we post a new video. And this video will be up in a couple hours. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, please join the Career USA mailing list. This is brand new for those people who living outside the DFW area, or even if you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and you don't get an email from me every couple of days. I put out 6 emails a week about our programming. So please, if you'd like to subscribe to us, I'll have this email address up at the very end of the presentation that you can copy and send an email to. Okay, on the YouTube channel, it looks something like this. Click on playlist, and at the very bottom, underneath the title you're looking for, click on View Full Playlist. Don't click on the video, but if you click on View Full Playlist, up will pop all the different videos that we've got, and you can pick the one you want on that subject matter. I'll skip this one because we're almost out of time here. All right, it's time to give away a month of JobScan. So if you'd like to have a 1-month unlimited use of JobScan, if you want to enter a number in the comment field or in the chat box between 1 and 100, we're going to give away 2. The 2 closest numbers will win. So we'll give everybody about 30 seconds to get numbers in.
People are already guessing. Yeah.
Yeah. Good, good, good.
I think there's a few seconds delay with Facebook.
Yeah, I'm going to wait a few seconds as soon as I see there we go. First number's popping up on Facebook. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and enter a number. The number today is 58. 58 is our winning number. So let's see here, 55. Oh, we have
55.
two 55s, it looks like. So let me just check. Oh, we have three 55s. Okay, there's three of you 55. Alkeisha, Seji, and Dino. I need you to send me an email. Send me an email at webmaster@careerdfw.org, and we will get the three of you all. We'll get all three of you all closest. Oh, wait a second. Oh, I'm sorry. We have another one here. Daniel, send me your information too at webmaster@careerdfw. Daniel's got 59 on Facebook. So if you will send me, the four of you, send me your information, I will get you all added to the list. Please do that in the next 1 hour because I've got to get the information off to the person to get that added on there. So thank you for playing along and being with us today. And let's see here, last slide. CareerDFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Carol's a volunteer, Janice is a volunteer, I'm a volunteer. None of us get paid to do what we do. We're just here to help you win your next great opportunity. So please think of, consider us when you do land that next job. Please make a donation so we can continue to provide the services we do.
And we also had a 61 come in.
We have a 61.
Which
Well, I think
is-
that was after, did we have that before? Oh,
think
there's
so.
a 61 on Bonnie. All right, well, the four of you send me your numbers and I'll see if I can get y'all added. I should have some extra slots this month. So 61, Jeff, give me a 61 also from Bonnie. The four of y'all send me an email. The email address, webmaster@careerdfw.org. Webmaster@careerdfw.org. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we will see you all